Hello my friend and welcome back. My name is Hannah and today I want to share with you what my makeup predictions are for 2022. If you're interested on anything that I'm wearing on my face today, or I don't know if I'm going to talk about anything that needs links, but if you need to find something that I'm talking about, I always have links in the description box down below. My links are not affiliated. Obviously, I'm a very, very small channel. If they were affiliated or sponsored in any way, believe me, I would let you know. But let's move forward with the video. I think I've been really thinking about this like all year because as someone who kind of took a huge break from makeup and makeup trends and things like that, and I mean a long time, from like 2015 to like 2020. Wow, I took like 5 years off of makeup and just did nothing. Well, it's not that I didn't do makeup. I just had, the one concealer that I liked, mascara, and did I have a brow gel even? I can't even really remember. I had like no eyeshadows. I had a lipstick. Wow, I like nothing. I was very, very bare minimum, very minimalistic, but that was only because I worked a job where I couldn't really wear makeup as like I wanted to, and I didn't really have the time to do it, and it just wasn't a priority for me compared to other things. And now it's kind of funny to think about like me not wearing makeup so much, because I had a huge phase of me trying a bunch of different makeup. I remember when Too Faced had just released the Born This Way foundation and like the chocolate bronzer, and all of that was like brand new. And I remember playing with that and like having so much fun. And I love to cosplay, and like learning how to do makeup came from cosplay because I never really got to wear makeup growing up. So makeup for me has always just been fun, and to kind of accentuate and like change my face in different ways. It was never like, I don't know, used to like make me feel prettier, because I never thought that I really needed it, because I feel like I always look like myself with or without makeup. So that's just a little bit of like backstory. But I mean, like, I would still have friends that were very interested in makeup, and I would see them come to work, in makeup, and we would talk about makeup and talk about brands, but it wasn't like I was a huge consumer of makeup. It was just very like on the surface. I knew what was going on with like mainstream brands, like what you would find in a Sephora, but maybe not so much indie brands as I do now. So it's interesting to kind of be in this kind of position and see what's going on, because obviously makeup and things like that they're trends that come from the time period and just the different influences that are coming in. And I mean, we all say that like fashion is a revolving door, right? So like trends that were popular in the 70s come back, a decade later, or things like that. And I think right now we're in the like very early millennia, like the early 2000s, and for me personally, this is like my least favorite time in fashion and makeup. Like, when I think about the makeup trends and things that I liked of that time period, like I think of Britney Spears and her music videos and her interviews and things like that. Otherwise, like, I'm not so interested. And even when I'm thinking about it, she just did like a very smoky like eyeliner kind of look, and then like had a glossy lip and like intense bronzer. So I don't know, we'll see. So in this video I want to, what is this hair? In this video, I just kind of want to break down a few things that I'm kind of catching and seeing, and that I think are going to be popular trends in 2022. And so the first one I'll start with, it seems like this has been everybody's kind of like consensus, is that we're going back to thin brows. But I don't think that they're thin brows. I don't think we're going into a phase of over plucking. I think we're actually entering a very, very groomed brow. And what I mean by groomed is like right now, even looking at my eyebrows, it looks very clean and like very like sharp edges. Granted, if you've watched my video a number of times, I'm terrible with brow grooming, so I don't know how well I'm gonna do with this trend, because I am too scared to like pluck or touch any hairs. I'm too scared. But I didn't use a super intense brow gel today, so my hairs do kind of fall flat, and so it gives more of like a defined shape. I think that's what we're going back into. I don't think it's so much like making them thinner. I think it's just making them cleaner. Where in 2020, even 2019, everybody was into like the big, thick, fluffy brows. But that's just having every single hair and kind of making them Super Saiyan and spiking them up. I don't think we're going to be spiking them up so much anymore. I think we're just going to be grooming them and having them be like tight. You know how like people kind of do like the tight, sleek ponytails? Like think of like Ariana Grande's ponytail. She's been wearing it very, not very much tight, but it's just been very sleek and kind of not, I wouldn't say gelled back. It's not like she has like a helmet on, but it's just very sleek and very posh. So I think that's what we're going into. We're going into a posh brow. I don't think it's thin. I just think it's well groomed. Another trend, I know I mentioned this before, I think we're going back into like a millennial kind of like, again, when I say millennial, I think 2000, 2001, 2002, you know, early 2000s kind of makeup trends. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more blues in palettes. That was like a very popular trend at the time, was to have, and it's not like the like, how do I phrase this? It's not like the blue eyeshadow red lip of like the 80s, you know, like it's different. It's more of like a lighter, I wouldn't say a pastel blue, but it's just like a very light blue, like a wash of blue, and then like a pink lip, or like a, maybe even a red lip, but it was like a red gloss. It was never like a matte lipstick. I think we're gonna be kind of falling into that trend, but it's going to be more of like a common, or like a more, what's the word I'm looking for? It's going to be a more modern take on that, because right now duochromes are really popular, multi-chromes are very popular. People aren't so much into pressed glitters, but they do love a nice shimmer shade. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw like more neutral palettes that had like this kind of blue kind of shimmer kind of thing going on in there. Because another trend that I think we're coming into is just like very I don't want to say like Natasha Denona like eyeshadow looks, but very much so that. So if you ever go to a Sephora and you look at a Natasha Denona palette, you see that it's like these kind of washes and blends of color, but they look very like sultry, and like they're just very, very pretty. Kind of like the eye look that I'm doing today, and I think that's kind of where we're going with makeup. I don't think it's going to be so much the like smoky eye and kind of like clean looks that we've been seeing. I think everything's going to be more of like a wash of color. And I say that because the early 2000s makeup, that's what it was. Like you would have an intense like black liner that you would smoke out, but like you would only have one shadow kind of going on. And I think people are still very much loving the like simple one or two kind of eyeshadow looks right now. We're still I wouldn't say lockdown, but I don't know, can I say pandemic? I'm not monetized, it doesn't matter. So we're still in a pandemic, and you know, people still have to wear masks. People still don't have a lot of time to do a lot of things. So I think that's just kind of where we're at. So I think we have like a lot of fashion influence, but then we're gonna somehow meet that halfway with what's going on with the world, and I think that's where trends are going. So also with that being said, because we are still in a pandemic, and we saw a little bit of this in 2021, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more brands kind of closing its doors. And I don't know, this is like hard because I felt like Becca was a very large company, but they really only had their highlighters, and their highlighters didn't grow with the times. They were the same like 2012 highlighters, like, you know, and if that was like your staple and you loved it, great. But I think there's more people either expanding their makeup collection or their makeup aesthetics, or people coming back into makeup or into makeup for the first time, and so they're not really into what those older trends were. I think right now a lot of the trend is just like, you know, my skin but better kind of thing, and so no one really wants like the big chunky highlight. And I'm not saying that there aren't people who want that, but I don't think it's as popular as it once was. So I don't know, I think if brands have like dated formulas, I wouldn't be surprised to see those companies kind of fall back. Like example, Urban Decay. Urban Decay hasn't really updated its shadow formula in a long time, and it shows. If you loved the early 2000s makeup, you might super love Urban Decay because that's still kind of the aesthetic and formulas that they have. But like I said, I think we're taking the more modern take on that Y2K fashion, and I don't know. So I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see a lot of releases, or we're starting to see, you know, them kind of preparing to close its doors. That being said, I also think influencer brands are going to not be so much. Why did I say that funny? I just think it's kind of catching up, especially because like the docks are, you know, everyone's talking about these boats and these loading docks and how we don't have people working over there. But I think it's taking a long time for products to be created and to be shipped out and to be tested. And you know, when you're a smaller brand and you're putting money into a product, you need to have other product that's going out. So it's easy for, let's take Urban Decay as an example. Urban Decay can release and work on a new, or excuse me, Urban Decay can work on a new palette because they already have a lot of stock of their previous stuff, whether it be like the Ultraviolet palette, the Wild West palette, the Naked Honey palette, whatever. They have product that they can sell, so they have the time and the means to work on another palette. When you're a smaller brand, take like Unearthly Cosmetics, where you have to make smaller batches of your product and then you sell out on them because you're a really up and coming indie brand. And then you can take that money from that sold out product to work on your new product. But businesses also cost money. So you also have to pay your employees for the hours that they come in. And if you have a lot of sold out stock that isn't being restocked often enough, right? Like it's just, how are you funding that? So I don't know, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw influencer brands and maybe some indie brands that haven't been doing so hot for a while kind of take a back seat. What also ties into that is I've also noticed that a lot of brands, usually they would release like these big giant collections where it was like 8 lips and then like 2 lip liners and an eyeshadow palette and like 2 blushes, 2 highlighters and a bronzer. And you know, like you could buy your whole makeup kit in one kind of set. I'm starting to see that brands are kind of releasing specific products. I don't know if I would say that they're trying to release holy grails, but they are definitely just releasing one item at a time. I think a brand that kind of took this and like ran with it was ABH. They started with, do we remember those like face palettes that came out earlier this year? There was like, I think only 2 shades and they both kind of looked the same and people really weren't excited about it. But it was just those 2 face palettes. And then a few months later, we got the blush and highlighter sticks. And then I think a little bit after that, we got the bronzers. And then I think a little bit after that, so at some point, just the brow freeze and the highlighter came out too, like in that timeline. ABH has had a few releases this year, but they were all spaced out and they were smaller individual items. Not really like, I mean, you could buy 1 or 2 blushes, 1 or 2 highlighters, you know, if shades matched, but usually someone, if they're gonna buy a blush because they're not making content or anything, and they want to live within their means, they're buying the 1 blush and the 1 highlighter, and that's going to last them for a while. So I think we're going to see a lot of brands also follow that trend, which we have been seeing, but I also think that's just due to being in a pandemic and it's harder to get things out. We've all noticed that like we buy anything and it takes a lot longer for it to get to us. It's also taken a lot longer for brands to release anything. I mean, I think the mainstream like capitalist running companies, like anything sold at Sephora is going to be at a normal pace because I can afford to. But take a look at like Lunar Beauty and things like that. Like they've been working on projects for a long period of time, which is normal for an indie brand. But I feel like it's been even longer. Like Lunar Beauty as an example, if they didn't already know that they were going to be releasing the Moon palette too, I don't know, like, would that have been like the Halloween release, or would they have like pushed that back later? You know what I mean? Manny's always been like very open about how his business works and how items come into creation. So that's kind of what I'm basing that off of, but also just in my own purchases. And whether that be like my anime figures or clothing or things like that, like it's all kind of, you order it and it kind of takes a while for it to get to you, depending on who you're ordering it from and what brand it is and things like that. So I don't know. I think we're going to see a lot smaller collections. And I also think we're going to see a lot of brands kind of branching out and doing other things. Like Colourpop's sister brand is Soul Body, which is like skincare, and they don't really ever release like too much. I think this year they released like their cream bronzer and like some self tanner. But now they have lip scrubs and lip balms, which Colourpop has, but these are like specific to Soul Beauty. It's probably like, again, sister brand, same formula, just a different company name on the packaging. But I don't know, they've released a lot of stuff. They have a lot more of like these moisturizing serums. They released bath bombs, so it seems like they're really taking this like skincare, body care kind of spa experience to the next level, because they also released a candle. It was supposed to be an exclusive with the, I do this every time, the one with the witches. You know what I'm talking about. I can't ever remember the name. It was only supposed to be with that collection, and then they re-released it as an individual, and it's been selling really well. And they've been bringing it back in stock, so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more candles coming from Soul Body. And Jackie Aina just released her candle collection on Sephora, so I think, I don't know, I think if people aren't going to be spending money on like makeup, like they're going to find another place to spend it. And I think that's going to be like home care, whether that be like candles or like what are those things with the jars and the sticks, the like, they also smell nice. Those aren't incense because you don't burn them, but you know what I mean? Like, I think we're gonna see more like things like that. I also think brands that like maybe have one or two like solid products, whether they be known for their eyeshadows or something, they might branch out and make something else, but I'm not so sure on that one, just because we are still in a pandemic. And it is a little bit harder to kind of guess what's going to be popular. Like, if we know that we're wearing masks, I think now would be the time to do like eyebrows, eyeshadows, mascara kind of releases versus a bronzer, the foundation, a lip gloss, things like that. So I don't know. And as far as like lip trends go, now that I just said lip gloss, I think glosses and oils are still going to have its moment. I think a lot of people have been enjoying that formula, but they don't enjoy wearing them under the mask. So what I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of are lip stains. Things that you can apply to your lip that don't really transfer as much, but are still like lightweight and, you know, still comfortable to wear. Colourpop had just re-released its lip tint in a balm kind of form, when it used to be like a liquid thing. Like, this one is the Odin's Eye, and this one is a more like matte finish. And like, sure, a lip tint isn't going to be like 100% transfer proof, but it's going to be a lot more comfortable to wear under a mask versus like the Sigma lip oil, which is like pretty sticky and conditioning. But just because it's a lip oil, it's never going to be like a matte and like fully soaked in. Like, I can transfer what I'm wearing right now all over my clothes, all over my hands. So I think we're going to see more of those kind of things. Wow, I feel like I just kind of spit a lot of information at you. What else do I think that we're going into as far as trends? I mean, here's the thing. There's so many like different demographics of beauty and fashion and things like that. And you can always like subcategorize. And I mean, I'm just talking about like the general public. So I don't know, like, because you could be someone that's like a cyberpunk kind of queen, and so like all you wear is like beautiful duochromes and things like that, and only wear indie brands, and love you for it. Or you can be someone that's just, you know, still in love with like 2016, 2013 makeup, full beat like Jeffree Star, James Charles kind of makeup, and that's okay too. You could still love your big fluffy brows. I'm just saying, I think what we're gonna start seeing more of as far as like just basic trends, because I don't know, it's hard because I think what the general public kind of bases these trends on are obviously like what we see celebrities doing and then like people on social media doing, and we find a happy medium somewhere in between. So I think we're still going to see colorful looks. I think kind of more intense neutrals are going to have like a popular moment right now, because I've also seen this on YouTube. A lot of the bigger makeup content creators, a lot of them have been saying for the past year that they've really been loving their neutrals. They've been diving back into their neutrals. And I think we're just gonna kind of have a moment where it's just neutrals. Not that neutrals are boring, I just think they're gonna be a bit more intense. Like I said, like the like really wash of color, very sultry, kind of Natasha Denona, Charlotte Tilbury-esque kind of neutrals. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more berry neutrals and things like that, but I don't know. I think it's just gonna be a lot of neutrals and maybe some like pops of color, like I said earlier, like that blue tone. Oh, we also saw this with Colourpop this year. They released the Zodiac and their smaller little quads, and a lot of them were like neutrals, but the pop of color was still complementary to what was going on. So it wasn't like, I think they had one that was like browns and then like a teal or something in there. But what I've been seeing is like a green palette with maybe like a brighter yellow or like a brown in there. Yellows and browns have also been having a moment. I think another trend that we might see is, I think doing like the Zodiac collections. I think we're kind of past that and we're moving into Birthstone Collections. We saw BH Cosmetics do it throughout the year of 2021. We saw Colourpop just release a new Birthstone collection. There's that new indie Australian brand that like is based, like the palette is kind of based off of, why do I want to say Geodude, but it's not based off of the Pokemon. It's just like a Geo something. And it was like greens and like very earth tones. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the new Zodiac, where we're going to start seeing, Huda Beauty just had the rose quartz, and I think Colourpop also had a different quartz. I think we're just going to see a lot more stone inspired kind of collections coming out in place of Zodiac collections. Oh, and as far as collections go too, I feel like I'm all over the place. Maybe I should have made notes. I don't think it's the end of collabs, like, at all. I think we're going to see more Disney collabs. We're probably going to see the same Disney collabs because Colourpop did 2 Hocus Pocus. There you go. Colourpop did 2 Hocus Pocus collections back to back. I wouldn't be surprised if there's around 3, especially because they did Hocus Pocus and Nightmare Before Christmas and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. They had so many different franchises for every holiday that you could imagine. So I wouldn't be surprised if those didn't go anywhere. So I think Disney is going to be a big collab that we see a lot of. I think we're also seeing more like movie franchises kind of coming out. The movies that we might get franchises of, I'm still like in question of, because we've been seeing a lot of like Mean Girls, a lot of Clueless. Those are like 2 very big staple like girl movies. But I don't know, like I wouldn't be surprised if we saw like The Craft around like the October season, because I think Halloween has like gotten a few more collections out this year than in previous years. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Craft. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw maybe Heathers. I don't know how popular Heathers is compared to like The Craft, but Winona Ryder had a big moment in makeup this year too, with her Colourpop blush, and I feel like a lot of her makeup aesthetic in the early 90s was also kind of popular this year, so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more trends like that. So maybe Heathers would come back, and I don't know, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw like Spider-Man collections, because Spider-Man's pretty big right now, and we had a bunch of Batman collections for the new, was there a new Batman movie that came out this year, or a new DC movie? Zach something, whatever that director is. Did he release that movie, his director's cut this year? I don't remember, but DC had like a bunch of makeup products coming out for a new movie, so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Spider-Man, which I guess is also Disney, so I guess that's a Disney. That's so weird. Everything is Disney. What I would like to see more of is, I think we might see more game-inspired kind of makeup, like Arcane. I wouldn't be surprised if they got a collab with someone, because we saw a lot of Netflix series getting a lot of collabs, whether it be what's the new Pat McGrath one that I wanted? Oh, that's out today. The new Pat McGrath has the why can't I think of the name of the show? But you know what I'm talking about. NYX did one with like the Money Heist. There's so many Netflix series getting collabs that I wouldn't be surprised if Arcane got one. And the special thing about Arcane is that it's based off of League of Legends. I'm not a League player. I don't know anything about it. But what's exciting about that is that if people are watching Arcane and getting really excited and getting people into video games, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more video game inspired makeup. I think OPI released a nail polish collection that was like the different colors of the Xbox controller. I'm not a huge I'm not a huge like nail polish person. I don't even care about Xbox. But what's exciting about that is, I don't know, it just opens this door, gets your little foot in, and then eventually maybe we'll finally get like a Witcher collection, which is also a Netflix series that just had a new season come out. So why don't we already have Witcher makeup? I'll redo my casual cosplay of Yennefer. I'll even maybe do a casual cosplay of Ciri if they give me a whole collection and I can just use that. I would be super excited. I'm trying to think of what other trends. I don't know. I guess my personal, I don't know if this would be something that is popular, but like anime is having a moment right now. A lot of big things are coming out either this December or in January that sets the stage for other things to be released. I don't think I'm going to get like a Sephora exclusive Naruto palette or anything like that by any means. But I wouldn't be surprised if I saw more cosplay-esque kind of makeup coming out. Graphic liner has definitely had a moment this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if people started bringing more of like liner contour and liner placement that looks very similar, because everybody calls it the e-girl thing. I think that's more of just like trying to look like an anime character. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a more relaxed e-girl and just kind of just cosplay. But that's like a maybe. That's just me in my own personal makeup world. I don't think that's for the general public. But I think that's it. I think that's everything that I want to cover in this video. That's a lot of just thoughts and opinions at you. Let me know, what are some of your thoughts and opinions about upcoming trends? How do you feel about trends? Do you fall into them? I will see them and I think I kind of just do my own thing. I think it just depends on what kind of trend it is. Like the more minimal makeup trend of like 2019 has definitely stuck with me, and it's made my makeup, I think, even better, because you don't need a whole lot. A little goes a long way. So let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions, and I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye.